Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Danny Sanger, the clarity, alignment, and confidence coach to celebrities and other prominent individuals who operate within the public spotlight. I help to boost their confidence and help them to then succeed within their respective careers, but also, and more importantly, for them to achieve successes within their personal lives alongside their career. And I do this through achieving clarity and alignment for them within themselves and within their personal life dimensions. In this series, I've been working through the commonly asked questions around the coaching work that I do. And in today's video, I'm going to focus in on entrepreneurs. So I've referred in the past to business women and business men who are highly prominent as a result of the successes of their businesses. So they are essentially entrepreneurs. And another term I often use for these types of individuals and their families is high net worth individuals. So they have, in essence, accumulated a vast amount of wealth through their businesses, established some empires, which in effect then give them the status of high net worth and ultra high net worth individuals and families, and in essence, then give them that public profile that they inherit from the successes they've achieved. So, in terms of their particular challenges, I will again provide an overview for the purposes of keeping the videos concise. But what I will do is just work through and give you the top 5 that resonate with me and what I've dealt with or where I've experienced these through the individuals that I've partnered up with during the course of my coaching. So, if I begin with firstly the personal security and privacy element, which is one of the 5 key areas that I'm going to talk through. So, personal security and privacy, as you can imagine, with the types of individuals that we're talking about today, they are super wealthy, and as a result, they have vulnerabilities. They are targets for others from a financial gains perspective, whether that's a personal attack on them or their assets, such as their properties. So I'm referring to them being mugged, or from their homes being burgled, through to digital cyber attacks in this day and age as well, where opportunists are looking to get financial gains through hacking into their bank accounts or accessing other personal private information of theirs. So, as you can imagine, that's a constant fear that they have to contend with on a daily basis. Even something as simple as a school run can feel like a military exercise for these families on a day-to-day basis. So, if you can imagine the anxieties that occur as a result of this for the family as a whole, as well as then the individuals that will have their own experiences of that anxiety. And then off the back of that, if there have been any specific attacks in whichever shape, size, or form that I've just described just now, there's also that element of trauma that may exist. And again, as a family, they'll have experienced that unfortunate event. But then over and above that, there's the element of the individuals within that setup who have experienced that attack and have some related trauma that they are then contending with and trying to overcome as a result of the attack itself. So that's one area. Second area I'd like to touch on is in developing genuine and trusted relationships with others. So, as you can again imagine, with the types of individuals that they are, their status in terms of their wealth, they do become targets for individuals outside of their realm who will infiltrate in terms of getting involved in their social circle, their personal circle, for the purpose of some other type of gain potentially, whether that's financial or another ulterior motive. So it's always hard for these families to actually feel security in the sense of the relationship they're forming with someone is actually genuine, or whether the other person has an ulterior motive. Ulterior motives could be, as I mentioned, the financial gain, whether that's through building out their own popularity, through associating themselves with these high net worth individuals, through to perhaps enrolling or getting the individuals sucked into some kind of a bogus deal, again, to sort of effectively do a scam of some kind against these families. And then there's another element which could be an entrapment of some kind. So slightly different from a scam, but entrapping individuals from within the family roping them into certain scenarios and then threatening them of going public and what have you. So there's those sort of concerns that unfortunately these families will have on an individual level when they've got new people they're meeting and worrying about whether they're forming a genuine friendship or if there's something else going on behind the scenes. Third area I'm going to look at is family dynamics. So this one's quite deep. I'll try and go through as much of it as a high level as I can. I'll touch into depths where it makes sense to do so. But what we've got, where I first start, is the parent-child bond that exists. So if you can, again, imagine with the families that I'm talking about, they're often setup includes or entails the children spending a lot more time with their nannies, with their tutors, and with other trainers or individuals who are there to help the child develop in particular areas during the course of their childhood. Now, often that means that they've got more attention and relationships being formed with these other individuals, employees effectively of the family that are brought in, as opposed to having a great deal of time being spent with their own parents. As you can imagine, then the result would be a lack of that close bond that would otherwise more naturally exist between parent and child. And the fact that that bond doesn't exist or is not as strong as it otherwise would be can then effectively present itself as symptoms during childhood itself and often actually much later on in life as well. So that's one area. And within that same family dynamics theme, we've got the fact that as these children are growing up, they are feeling a burden at some stage when they start to take on some responsibilities from within that family setup, the family businesses, the empire, whatever specific tasks or roles that they start to play. There is that feeling of that being a bit of a burden for them at such a young age. And they do have confidence issues often in terms of worrying about failure, fear of damaging the family name by not being as successful as their parents have been, or an imposter syndrome, feeling not good enough to perform, or feeling like they're faking it, feeling like they haven't truly amassed any wealth themselves. It's all their parents doing. All of that sort of stuff that exists in that space. And that's quite overwhelming and creates a lot of anxiety and can lead on to other issues further downstream. So that's all around family dynamics. So the fourth item I'm going to look at is the self-care side when it comes to these individuals. So across that family setup, very much this is a way or a product of their environment as they've grown up within, and they are very driven and focused individuals. Their attention is very much on continuing to rise, continuing to grow, very ambitious, and so forth. Often it's very unlikely that they give themselves any time throughout their lifetime to actually reflect on themselves internally and establish that spiritual connection with themselves to ensure that they're actually achieving growth on an individual level rather than focusing on the growth they're experiencing and achieving in their external environment through the businesses that are growing and expanding, etc. And that in itself can lead to symptoms that will surface further down the line at some point, whether that's then distractions that they engage in, vices which are essentially filling a void which they've not attended to, and they're using these distractions to help to effectively avoid paying any attention to those voids. And the fifth and final area I'm going to focus in on is around succession. So by succession, I'm talking about that time of the life of the head of family where they need to start thinking about transferring over control and effectively transfer over their assets, their wealth to their children and other members of their family. So that in itself, although as a paper-based exercise, it's straightforward and they'll have advisors from a financial perspective around them to split those assets in accordance to the wishes of the head of household or principal, as they're often referred to. it's the other element which is non-tangible, which is around the legacy that these individuals are leaving behind, not necessarily the wealth itself. So on reflection, as a result of some of the other issues or areas that I've just already communicated to you, as you can imagine, by the time they get to this point in their life, if they are then reflective and start to essentially connect into their inner self and their spiritual side, they may contemplate and consider what exactly they're leaving behind over and above wealth and businesses. And on reflection, if that reveals that they are leaving behind what might then be complex family troubles and issues amongst the children, grandchildren. So it's areas such as the rivalry that naturally exists between siblings, which again is where they're vying for sort of greater share and control of the business empire, the family empires, and all of the toxic sort of relationships that result through their aspirations in that area, or whatever else exists in terms of issues that arise between the individuals or between the families further down, the children and their respective families, etc. So from a principal's perspective, that's a key area that seems to be more recently an area of focus for them, where someone like myself and my partners, we have a program where we help to resolve some of these themes or issues, and provide a safe and secure environment for these families to rebuild and reconnect in a constructive way that then helps to them take things forwards and resolve some of those historical issues. Now, that's very much the essence of what I wanted to give you as an overview. I'm keen to keep the video as concise as I possibly can. There's so much more I could go into, but I will leave it there for now. I will just wrap up in terms of a summary. So with high net worth individuals that I've been talking to you today, we've talked about personal security and privacy being an area of concern for them on a very regular basis. Their ability to develop trusting, genuine relationships with others around them. We've also then talked about the complexities of their family dynamics and the various issues that can surface further downstream as a result. We've also then talked about the lack of self-care and time that they spend on themselves at a spiritual level throughout their lives in their pursuit for further successes, etc. And then lastly, I talked about succession, where head of household may be in a reflective state to actually realize that over and above what they're passing down as inheritance to their family members, the intangible elements that they're handing down by way of the state of the family's relationships with one another. So that's the summary for today's video. I do hope, as always, that the information's been informative, it's been insightful, you've gained a better insight into what the worlds of these types of individuals look like. If you're new to the channel, welcome aboard, and please do subscribe to the channel itself, and then also like the video and provide any commentary you wish to within the comment section below. Otherwise, I thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to joining you all again in the next video. Take care and bye-bye for now.